Okay, I just want to take a minute to talk about the instant karma machine that I created years back in my situation with my horrible neighbors. Now, these were the worst neighbors I've ever had. I've moved like 56 times. I've lived all over the world in different countries and all over the States. And this family was a living nightmare. Now, I could go on for hours to explain all the things that they did and how many times the police came out and the Department of Child and Family Services and everything else. But just take my word for it, they were horrible. Towards the last month or so that I lived there, after developing SoniScape and finding a way to sleep through the night, I came up with another invention called the instant karma machine. And effectively what I did was I mounted some very large speakers up in the ceiling. And I got that idea after I tore a hole in the roof banging on it. It was like a war zone. This crazy, crazy woman, who's like 350 pounds, would jump up and down on the ceiling, and it sounded like you were inside of a drum. It was so loud. Just to give you an example, one day there was an earthquake. It was like a 4.4. I just thought it was her. I'm serious. I thought the earthquake was her. It wasn't until I saw the news that I realized it was an actual earthquake. That's how horrible this woman was. And she would intentionally, when she'd get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, she would jump up and down and stomp and slam the door just to wake me up and piss me off. So I've painted the picture of how horrible they were. Anyway, so one of these days I'm pounding on the ceiling. I made this special stick with a very large magnet on it, wrapped in towels on a broom handle, so I could hit the ceiling and not damage it. Well, things got out of control one day and I tore a big hole in the ceiling. It was war, Anyway, not proud of it, but I made lemonade out of those lemons. I mounted a giant speaker up inside the ceiling at the bottom of their floor. I fixed the hole in there and I ran wires down the side to my studio system. And I then put microphones in different places on the ceiling and ran it through my mixer, amp, and a delay. So effectively any sound that they made would be reproduced back through that speaker 3 times. So if she made a big stomp, she would hear every time she stomped. And so I would let it play. And the first night that I let it play, I don't know what they were doing. If they were playing basketball in the living room or sacrificing a virgin to the gods. It was just ungodly noisy. And every time they made a noise, they heard it back 3 times. During this whole process of this war between neighbors, I had called the police over 20 times. I had taken them to court several times and had complaints with the city attorney and had to have meetings with them. The management had cited them. They couldn't get them out. They eventually evicted them. And when they got into the place, it looked like a war zone. The manager brought me up there and let me look at it. The closet mirror doors had been taken off and were in another room. A lot of the doors had been ripped off the hinges. There was crayon and all kinds of graffiti from the kids, I guess, all over the walls. It looked like a Manson family crime scene. The carpet was just shredded. It was amazing that they could have lived there like that. But anyway, just to give you an idea of what I was dealing with. Anyway, the one time that they called the police on me was the first night I ran the instant karma machine. And the police came down and they knocked on my door and I opened it up and they explained, we got a complaint from your upstairs neighbors. And I said, well, come on in, guys. And I showed them the instant karma machine. They howled with laughter. They thought it was incredible. And they were there. They heard the noise while they were there. These people jumping up and down, slamming doors, screaming and everything. And anyway, once they saw what I was doing and why, they went back upstairs and had an entirely different conversation with them. Not that it helped. But anyway, I get a lot of emails about the instant karma machine. So effectively that was it. You mount speakers in the ceiling or wherever you need it, and you mount microphones, and you kind of need a complex, you know, you need a mixer. You're going to need some good microphones and speakers and a capable power amp and a delay unit. A lot of things that any musician would have lying around. I wouldn't say go out and buy one of those things. And I don't advocate warring with your neighbors. That's why I created the SoniScape, so I could just mask them out and just not have to listen to them. But I know I get a lot of letters from people all over the world that are in these situations with their neighbors. It's easy to get into, you know. When you get deprived of sleep for days, months, years, you kind of lose it. I've been there. And sometimes you don't act very reasonably, you just act emotionally. And anyway, I'm not advocating any of that. But that's the story about the instant karma machine.